TV.
Shout out
Rapid TV.
Thank you, Rapid TV. Please keep watching
Rapid TV. This is Rapid TV.
Rapid.
Rapid TV.
Keep watching.
Keep it meltdown. Leave it like that.
A very good evening to you. Well, welcome to Correro. This is where Nigerians politics meets fearless conversation. I am Godwin Sunday. Recently, a Canadian court sparked global debate by describing Nigerians' two dominant political parties, the All Progressive Congress (APC) and the People's Democratic Party (PDP), as terrorist organizations. That ruling has since stirred controversy, raising questions not only about international perceptions of our democracy, but also about the activities of Nigerians abroad who openly support these parties. For decades, the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party have been at the center of Nigerians' political story. But in today's interconnected world, diaspora communities are no longer silent observers. From Toronto to London to Houston, Nigerians abroad identify with these parties, campaign for them, and even fund them. So what are the implications? Does diaspora involvement amplify Nigeria's democracy on the world stage, or does it deepen the cracks and reinforce the negative global image of our politics, especially in light of such rulings? To help us unpack this delicate conversation, we have with us in the studio Bilal Aliu, a PDP chieftain who is here with us in the studio, and we also have comrade James Chidi, who is a public affairs analyst, and he'll be joining us via online presence. Well, we will break down what this means for Nigeria's democracy, for our image abroad, and for the journey to 2027. But before we delve into this conversation, we'll take a quick break, and when we return, the conversations begin. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back. Well, with me in the studio right now is Bilal Aliu, who is a PDP chieftain. Well, Bilal, you're welcome to Correro.
It's my pleasure, Godwin.
Well, Bilal, let's look at the judgment even from Canada. PDP has been silent on this judgment, and also even the ruling of the All Progressive Congress has been silent on this judgment. The implications to Nigerians globally. Does this mean, this silence, does this mean that the People's Democratic Party and also the All Progressive Congress are terrorist organizations?
First of all, I entirely disagree with the Canadian court's judgments. You know, labeling the APC and the PDP as terrorist organizations, and this is entirely false. But the whole issue, boils down to the fact that the All Progressive Congress, which happens, to be the ruling party, has been unable to, address the current problems faced by Nigerians. They've been unable to fulfill the social contracts being signed between the citizens and the government at large. But in this case, when you look at the situation today in Nigeria, the economic environment is not favorable at all. There's a whole increase in unemployment and also, insecurity issues at large, and it's really costing us. In this case, they've not been able to come up with a mechanism in order to protect the image of Nigeria and coming up with a foreign policy internationally. As it stands today, Nigerians are, are really going through a whole, a lot of crisis in this period of time, in time, and the All Progressive Congress, hasn't really made, bold moves in order to address these issues, and it's also, attracting, the international organizations, and there you tend to see some form of international interference into our own domestic, issues. They haven't come up with a solution to address these issues. And now we are now leaving our own problems to be solved by the international community. And this, shows that there is a whole high level of irresponsibility, in the present administration at large.
Well, Bilal, if I get you correctly at this point in time, the international court, which is the Canadian court, have come out to rule that the People's Democratic Party is a terrorist organization. And so far, the People's Democratic Party has been silent, even on the ruling of this court. It took the like of Femi Falana to come out to say, hey, you guys need to go out and speak up, even to defend what you guys represent, the ideology you stand for. But when you look at it, the People's Democratic Party, the legal framework of the People's Democratic Party has not really come out to say A, B, or C regarding this issue. Neither has the All Progressive Congress come out to speak up on this issue. You belong to the People's Democratic Party, and of course, a lot of Nigerians in the diaspora will even want to get your take even on this issue. I'm asking and putting it to you, if you travel outside the shores of this country, can you be identified with the People's Democratic Party and not be tagged as a terrorist, as it were right now?
Well, the People's Democratic Party is not a terrorist organization. It's a political, party.
But we can't say so. We can't say so when you get to Canada.
No.
In Canada right now, it is being tagged and brandished as a terrorist organization.
Hold on.
All right.
They haven't come out to make any form of formal statements, because this is a sensitive issue, and this has to go through the national, legal office of the national legal advisor, and also the party leaders, to come up with a, mechanism, see how they can address, these issues at large. It's not just a PDP thing. It's denting the image of Nigeria as a whole. It's not just about the PDP, but the problems that we were having, when you look at the past administrations, like that of the PDP ruling for 16 years, there was no any form of international interference in the affairs of our own, country, based on the fact that the dividends, people were feeling the dividends of democracy at large. But in this case today, looking at the All Progressive Congress, is nothing to write home about, and also attracting attention, international attention, to see how they can come into our own, because they're hearing the voices of Nigerians, and they know the economic situation is not favorable for Nigerians at all. And Nigerians are, also looking out and crying out to international, communities to see how they can come in and wade into, the issues being faced by our country today. So now, the present administration, has left, the country to bring in foreign externals to interfere into our own domestic issues. They are not doing the right thing. The dividends of democracy hasn't really been felt by the people. Nigeria is way going down the drain at its ease, based on issues of misplaced priorities and ineffective policies that don't address the issues of the common man in the country today. This is why we have been facing issues like this. When you can look at suppressing the voices of the masses and all issues like that, cases of interference with the judiciary, and we all know that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. But in this case, there is no say for the common man. There is no other form of protection and all. So they've left the country to go down the drains and attract international communities to interfere into our own national issues. I know, and it's not really safe for the country at this point in time, and we have a long way to go.
Well, so Bilal, you're saying right now that since the judgment emerged, right now where we are right now, we can as well, by that judgment, imply that everybody that supports the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress in Canada and also in the diaspora, automatically they are terrorists by the silence of the People's Democratic Party? Is this the implication?
No, they can't be labeled as
Well,
terrorists.
the court has ruled in favor and say that People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress are all terrorist organizations. So at this point in time, can we say by implication that if you identify with the People's Democratic Party as it stands right now, you are a terrorist, a global terrorist, and as such we should be careful even to be identified with you, even as a PDP chieftain?
This court ruling is made by an international court, and they have no right to label Nigeria as the political parties.
But it is what it is right now.
As a terrorist, as a terrorist organization, because as it stands, we all know that these are political parties, and these are people that don't really know about the internal roots of our political structures and all, and they are not here to come in and investigate and carry out some form of studies to see if this political parties are terrorist groups and all. These are issue. The problem now, it's more of a foreign policy issue. You get the way, the manner at which the present administration is handling our foreign policy is nothing to write home about. Because when you look at the way, the PDP, during the times of the PDP-led administration, you see how we came up with, effective foreign policies in order to protect Nigerians' interests and also the image of our country. Today, as it stands today, there is no any form of your national communications policy that guides the nation and all MDAs at large. Instead of putting the job of handling the public image of the country today in the hands of communications practitioners, like the public relations practitioners, instead they give it to journalists. And you know that as you know, as a journalist, you know that the profession of journalism is way different from that of a public relations practitioner. The work of a journalist is to present information as news, and that of a public relations practitioner is image building, is enable an organization to build a positive image of the public.
Well, Bilal, if I get you correctly at this point in time, you are saying at this point, the Nigerians and also people, international community should be weary and scared of Nigerians that identify themselves with the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress as it stands right now. Should international communities be scared right now? Let's even get you react to that stance of these all terrorism allegations.
No, the international communities don't need to be scared about associating with people that belong to this political parties, because these are just political parties, not terrorist organizations. The court judgment was taken outside the shores of this country. What was the mechanism used in order to make that kind of judgment? Was there any form of feasibility studies to come down to the shores of this country to investigate, to see if these organizations are political, are terrorist organizations or not? No, they relied on information from people, and also surveys, and these are not platforms to rely on. You need to come down to the shores of this country. That's why we have people like the investigative journalists. I know investigative journalism has a long way to play in issues like this, instead of focusing or relying on public opinions and all, and what people say in the social media and all. As it stands today, there is no national communications policy or framework that guides the nation at large. That's why we tend to find that we tend to see that Nigeria has a very bad image when it comes to the international community at large.
Well, Bilal, well, a lot of Nigerians in the diaspora will tend to disagree with some of your position that you've raised even this evening. Looking at it from the perspective of a terrorist organization, of course, you know that terrorism is a very, very serious conversation. All right, but then before we even come back to you, I understand right now that we've been joined by Comrade Chidi, who is joining us from even Lagos right now in this conversation. Good evening and welcome to Corero, Comrade Chidi. All right, so while we're trying to get Comrade Chidi to even join us in that conversation, let me come back to you, Bilal. Looking at the whole issues around terrorism in diaspora, one thing that I've always stood out is the fact that the conversation around terrorism is not just one thing that can just be attached or accredited to a particular group of persons or organization. Of course, there must have been studies, there must have been follow-up conversations, investigations and research must have gone down in order to come out with these findings. Is there iota of truth in all of this conversation, looking at it, because one would say there is no smoke without fire? Is there any iota of truth that the People's Democratic Party, the All Progressive Congress, the APC, are some form of a terrorist organization so far? Since you are a chieftain of the party, has there been any narrative? Has there been any activity that could suggest to the Canadian court that the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party are terrorist organizations?
Wait, you said that there were some form of studies and research like taking place. But let me ask you, have you gotten to find out the depth of data that like they relied on to come up with such kind of like judgments, such kind of issues? They went in the shores of this country in order to investigate and do findings and study. And Nigeria today has lots of like enemies like everywhere, and this issues now leads to cases like this, international interference, in order to label and destroy the public image of this country at large, in order to cause confusion and bring in international interference and all. And when you look at these issues today, most countries that have led international interference to get involved in their own domestic issues, you tend to find out that most of those countries are always in crisis and all. Nigeria has so many enemies, and what the present administration needs to do is to come up with an effective foreign policy in order to protect the interests of this nation and also protect the image of the country at large. These are the lapses that we're facing. Issues like these have never ever happened in this country before, and this is the first time that we are hearing such. The PDP-led administration, ruled for 16 years, and they handled the foreign policy, effectively. Nigeria had, at that time, you tend to find out that Nigeria was attractive for, multinationals to come down to our shores and establish new industries and all. But right now you tend to find out that since the emergence of the APC coming to power, we've lost so many multinational organizations packing up from this country and going back down to neighboring countries like Ghana and Togo to set up and all. And this has really led a setback for this country at large, and we are still trying to recover from these issues. It's more of the lapses of the present administrations, whereby they don't have a mechanism in order to protect our foreign policy and foreign interest and all. And that's why they're giving rooms to international organizations to make such kind of pronouncements as Nigerian political parties as terrorist organizations. It's very, very unfair to label the Nigerian political parties, the major Nigerian political parties, as terrorist organization. It's not really, healthy for the nation at this point in time. And there needs to be more of, a rapid, approach in order to resolve these issues through foreign policies and also, internal diplomatic efforts in order to address these issues.
Well, but Bilal, let me even interrupt you here because I understand that we need to go for a short break right now. When we come back, we will talk more on these issues. What? Let's even look at this whole conversation. I understand that we've been joined by Comrade James Chidi, who is joining us from Lagos right now. Good evening, and so good to have you join us right now, even on the show this evening, Comrade James.
Thank you, and good evening, Nigerians.
All right, Comrade James, you've been following the conversation. Of course, you've also been following this whole discussion of the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress being tagged as a terrorist organization. But looking at the ruling of the Canadian court, what do you make of all of this decision and all of the discussion right now? Can we at this point brandish or tag the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party as a terrorist organization?
Okay, thank you for this question. First of all, let me actually reiterate, it is a very bad one for Nigerians, both Nigerians at home and Nigerians in diaspora. And it's a very black paint on the very white image of Nigeria. Yeah, having said this, first, let me say this. There is nothing to hide here. It's a culmination of leadership failure over time. Remember that we all have been in this country. The vice president of this very country currently, that's Kashim Shettima, he has been so many times accused by fellow Nigerians of, being a terror sponsor. Yet, there has not been any attempt to investigate or do anything. Recently, Najia Mohammed recently also accused her. All the party could do was just come out and defend, and that ends it. Whenever we are doing or something, we think that there are no other persons watching. When we talk about international politics, the international dimension of all these things, you think other countries are not watching. We have, as a country, over time, grown individuals who are stronger than the system. Ordinarily, no country survives it this way. The system should ordinarily be stronger than the individuals. That is when the judiciary can be able to go after individuals who has committed known offenses against the law, convict them, and they face the wrath of the law. But here,
Comrade Chidi, when you look at the decision of the court right now, is there anything within the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party that can suggest that this political platforms and organizations are terrorist organizations, looking at the structures of the party right now?
You don't leave the past when you forget the road and the route where you pass through to get to where you are. Then it means there is something you are missing. You talk about the present PDP and APC. I cannot be able to designate them as terrorist organizations, but I am telling you what were the deductions, what could be deductions of this very court to have tagged these people criminal organizations. When we exonerate ourselves completely, it means, first of all, we are not acknowledging that there is a lacuna or gap. Forget the black image that has may be painted. Let us first of all deal with the issues. Once we are able to deal with them, then we can forge ahead, make a
Comrade Chidi, if I get you correctly, you were saying at this point in time that the Canadian court erred in its ruling to tag and brandish the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress as a terrorist organization.
Definitely, it has done probably one of, like I said, I've mentioned one instance which is in the public domain. So why are you thinking? Are you thinking one instance alone that I've given you is not even public?
But why? You know the court work with facts. Yeah, so the court work with facts and not release social media details. But we're looking at all of these that have played out so far. I'm curious at this point in time. As the court, the Canadian court, has it erred in even pronouncing that judgment to tag the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress as a terrorist organization? Let's look at it from a wider view, the implications even to Nigerians that have identified themselves with this various political party, as the court erred in its decision.
The wider implication is far-reaching, very, very, very destructive. It further, like Nigerians who are identifying with the party, it means internationally they are associating with terror sponsors. That is what it means. While I first of all, the very thing I think the government of the day should do is do things that will redeem the image of Nigeria internationally, not just by debunking these claims. The country should be able to, see, when we are talking about this, I think the judiciary has a very vital role to play here. When we're able to convict individuals, not just people for offenses they commit, the police should be actively engaged in, tracking individuals who are these terror sponsors, so that we can be able to, fish them out. Then, by so doing, we will be able to get these things right, whether it is the parties involved or individuals who are not members of this party. We don't just dismiss these things as mere allegations. And what is there any way, whatever rant we put up now, the only way we can get out of this is by, concerted effort from the government at all levels to make sure that these things will clear ourselves from this mess. Individuals who are involved in this must be fished out so that they will be clearly identified as party members of.
All right, Comrade Chidi, let me come back to you, Bilal, even here in the studio. Looking at the implication of this pronouncement by the judge, can we be correct to say at this point that all members of the People's Democratic Party in the diaspora, especially in Canada right now, are all terrorists?
You are very wrong. You are very wrong to label members of the two political parties and also members that are in the diaspora as as members of terrorist groups and all. You're very wrong to label them as members of terrorists.
Well, I didn't label them. Of course, we have a pronouncement by a court. We have a ruling from an international court that have already pronounced a judgment, even in this issue.
Looking in depthly on that pronouncement, you tend to find out that the PDP and the APC were not directly, labeled as terrorist group. What it states there is that the person involved in there has an affiliation to either of the political parties. I know that doesn't state that the political parties, both political parties are terrorist, organizations. And the issues why, the reasons why we keep having such form of international backlash like this is based on the fact that the present administration has failed to, stand up to its, responsibilities in order to address the, economic and security, crisis issues faced by the country today. When you look at terrorism and banditry, it's really escalating in a very, very, high side. you tend to find out, members of, bandit sects coming out on social media, going live, and we have a defense, system and a defense cyber system whereby there is a unit in the Nigerian army today which, is focused on, combating cyber, crimes and all like that. They have the resources and all in order to, fish out these people based on using technologies in order to, track where they keep,
right,
having this, live broadcast and all, and these people.
Well, Billa, let me hold your thoughts there, and let me even get Comrade Chidi at this point to react to this, because a lot of young people are also traveling to Canada this period. Okay? Comrade Chidi, at this point in time, should Nigerians be afraid or skeptical with identifying themselves with the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress as it stands right now? What's your general take, especially to Nigerians that are traveling and leaving the shores of Nigerians right now?
Okay, yeah. For Nigerians who want to travel to especially Canada, because this designation is basically in Canada, I think the government of the day has not actually removed itself from this and has not also been able to come, even with the parties involved, especially the PDP. They have not been able to convince the Canadian government that they are not, or neither have they debunked these allegations. So I think it's time Nigerians who have the intentions to travel to these places, first of all, shouldn't actually identify with these particular parties in question. See, this is not a permanent tag. It is something that once we're able to clear ourselves from this, then the tag will be removed. It is not a permanent tag, for crying out loud. So to me, it is important that we use this very opportunity to, take these things, this issue of terrorism more seriously, so that we don't keep labeling Nigerians who are not terrorists as terrorists. At the moment, we have Nigerians who were one time, like what happened to this young man we're talking about, simply by way of affiliating with the PDP, he has been labeled a terrorist and denied his application for refugee stay in Canada. So what I'm trying to say here is, at the moment, Nigerians are labeled, Nigerians who were or are still members of the PDP and the APC. So if you are a member of these parties, consider traveling to other locations where they are not tagged terrorists. I think this is only basically in Canada. The only thing is it's just that some other countries who have not designated them as members of terrorists may also begin to, do their own findings at this time. So it is the very best time for the government of the day to take this issue of terrorism seriously, fish out the sponsors, then expose them so that international community can as well see and know who they are. Then if they are not party members, they will be tagged the terror sponsors. So this is my candid advice and my opinion as well.
So Chidi, let me get you on this again. When you look at the silence of the People's Democratic Party and that of the ruling All Progressive Congress on this matter, does this silence means admissibility and acceptance that these organizations and political parties are terrorist organizations based on their silence so far?
Normally, if anyone takes the position of silence in any decision, it means conceding or accepting whatever is the judgment. But I don't see it practically that way in this case.
Chidi, I'm asking that question because of Nigerians that are in the diaspora. Should they be afraid right now, haven't, when these political parties, even in Nigeria, are silent. Motherland is silent right now, and they're not speaking up even for Nigerians that have identified themselves with this political party. The implications, should Nigerians in diaspora be afraid right now of being deported back to the country and also losing their investment at this point? Or what should Nigerians in the diaspora begin to do? Should they begin to denounce these political parties and look the other way around? What do you think Nigerians in the diaspora can do at this point in time?
Basically, Nigerians in diaspora who were once or are still members of this party, first of all, I think their first port of call should be reaching out to the either the PDP or the APC to find ways to reach out to the same Canadian government to explain themselves, because if you say I am a criminal and I have not been able to say my own part, it means ordinarily I have accepted. So, but they should first of all reach out to the Canadian government. They have the way without the mechanism to do this, and put up their own side of the this explanation. But meanwhile, Nigerians in diaspora should also begin to pressure the leaders of these political parties, so that if for the ones in APC, and I keep on saying it, the government of the day needs to take this matter so seriously. But while the government of the day is taking this so seriously to nip this situation at the board, the parties involved should begin to debunk this if they are not accepting it, so that Nigerians who are members, one-time members or still presently members, will not be deported from the country if they want to stay for a short or long period of time. So these things are definitely affecting the image of Nigerians generally. But imagine if somebody has not said the party they belong to and they have traveled. Probably somebody is even looking at you because Matthew is a member of this party, is being tagged a terrorist. So whether you are not or you are, they say Nigerians are terror sponsors, because before now, these were the two major political parties in Nigeria, major, predominant political parties. So my own advice is Nigerians who are already abroad, especially in Canada, should be and they were one time or still presently members of, should begin to reach out to the national organogram of the party, so that they will begin to debunk these claims if truly they are not. But if they are, or they know anyone of their party members, the next thing is expose them, so that they will see seriousness in the terrorism fight in Nigeria, and we can make progress. Especially my own I am particularly interested that Nigeria makes progress in the fight against terrorism in Nigeria.
All right, so let me even return to you, Bilal, even here in the studio. Looking at all of this conversation right now, being tagging APC members and the People's Democratic members as a terrorist organization, the implication for Nigerians in Canada is that Nigeria has now become a breeding ground for terrorism across the world, because we have a larger number of supporters from these political organizations. But when you look at this critically, when you look at it, let's even look at the judgment by interpretation. Can we say at this point in time that the People's Democratic Party staying silent on this issue implies that the party doesn't want to react to this and allow its supporters in the diaspora to deliberately suffer?
Well, this is a diplomatic, issue. It's a diplomatic problem, and it's more of like the federal government, under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, coming up with some diplomatic resolutions to address these problems, because we know that these are political parties, they are not terrorist organizations. And in this case, the PDP has, it's more of a diplomatic, issue, and they don't have enough, powers in order to wade into this crisis. So it's more of the federal government to go through diplomacy with the Canadian government in order to resolve these issues. It's not just about the members coming out to debunk the issue. It's more of the Nigerian government liaison with the Canadian government to resolve this issue. The solution to resolve this issue is diplomatic, simply just pure diplomacy to resolve this issue at this point in time.
Well, Bilal, we have a lot of things to even talk about in this conversation, but I'm being signaled that it is a time to go. I want to say thank you so much for finding out time to be with us here on Correro.
It's my pleasure, Gordon.
All right, Comrade Chidi, I want to say thank you so much also for being with us even on this show. Well, viewers, this is how far we can go today on Correro. Do remember that you can join the conversation on our various social media handle currently showing on your screen, and leave your thoughts behind and let us know what you think about the issues that we've discussed even this evening. My name is Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Enjoy the rest of your evening.